Hey, March 23rd. This is Jaguars Happy Hour. And now, a guy who has JP locked away in a darkness retreat, Brian Sexton.
Did anyone else think that was weird? I mean, hey, hi, everybody. Brian Sexton sitting in with Jeff Lageman for a second straight Thursday evening. Those are the dulcet tones of Joe Fortunato, who obviously exercised all the BS opportunities that you could possibly think of.
Oh, no, there's plenty more.
All right, good.
But that is interesting. Why would you want to do that?
First of all, I wouldn't. Can you imagine sitting in a dark room? Do you need a dark room to tell you want to play football or you don't?
I mean, sunlight is good.
Yeah. And it wasn't the toxic toad venom from 2 summers ago? That didn't do the trick?
Oh, what Aaron Rodgers did. Yeah. I'm not really hip to that kind of thing. I mean, it's I like the sunlight. Yeah. Darkness.
You understand?
Can bring upon depression, right?
And voices that speak in your head, hallucinations.
Vitamin D is good.
Yep, I'm good with it. Aaron Rodgers has gotten, for lack of a better term, weird. He's gone over the edge and is now. I don't know that I've ever. I mean, Tom Brady's ponytail was kind of strange, but Aaron Rodgers with the toad venom
wasn't quite a ponytail though. No. There's another name for
wasn't
that.
The man
Joe, you got to help me out. There's a name for a ponytail that's not quite a ponytail.
I mean, I get it. The greatness is undeniable, right? I mean, the guy's a great quarterback, but you need to go sit in the darkness to decide whether you want to keep playing or not.
Yeah, one of the things that I have not become. One of the reasons why I've not become not a fan of Aaron Rodgers is that over the last couple of years he's been very vocal, which is fine. I mean, that's your right. You're a starting quarterback and,
knows what he wants.
And arguably a Hall of Fame guy. But if you're really about getting better and about team and everything else, then you're doing the things that Tom Brady has done and has showed that are what it takes to be a championship caliber quarterback. Not, well, I'm not going to be there for my team. You can't sit there and bitch about a situation and then not be part of the solution and helping the process along, which is, I think, what he's done over the last 2 years. And I think it's a big reason why that the fan base in Green Bay is okay with him saying sayonara.
Yep, they're ready to see the Love Kid come online. Here's the other thing with Brady. Brady took less than the highest paid salary slot.
Always did.
And Aaron Rodgers owns it by a mile in Green Bay. So It is what it is. This is not Packers today or happy hour in Green Bay, but Joe brought it up. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, it's one of the most compelling stories in the National Football League right now.
Yeah.
Where's that going to come to an end? What will the compensation be? At what point will Aaron Rodgers be there to help his teammates learn this new system that Nate Hackett is going to install as the new offensive coordinator? And will he be there to help? And there's a lot of different sites, and one of the most popular ones is Mike Florio's Pro Football Talk. And he has a lot of opinions about there's really no hurry for the Jets in this situation for a couple reasons. One, Aaron Rodgers doesn't need to learn system. He already knows the system.
Yep.
And that he doesn't need to be there because he probably doesn't want to be there until it's time to perform, which is game time. And I sit there and I go, those things are all true. So he's saying that the Jets are basically in the catbird seat, and the Packers
seems like it,
don't seem to understand that at all, because if Aaron Rodgers at some point shows up to Green Bay and says, I'm going to play for you and pay me,
right.
They have to pay him.
Because it's $54 million, I think, is the option bonus.
Yeah, it's something crazy.
So the interesting part is, if you're the Jets, are you comfortable? Because he knows the system, and you've already brought in Allen Lazard to go with Hackett. Maybe wait till the day after the draft and give him next year's draft picks.
Maybe. And I'm okay with that, but at some point, if you're going to try to take the next step as a franchise, and I don't care if you're the Jets or anybody for that matter, you have a new offensive system with a new quarterback with a lot of new components on the offensive side of the ball. You need to have your quarterback there for the voluntary aspect of the offseason program and the mandatory aspect of the offseason program. And if you're not getting that, then you're not getting Aaron Rodgers all or whoever's all.
He's made more than $200 million playing professional football.
Pretty good money.
Yeah, that's right. You think that factors into it right now? I mean, you think he has to convince himself that he really wants to play?
No, I don't think it's about. I don't think it's so much about money with him. I think it's a little bit of more. It's more about. He's always seemed to like the attention.
Yeah.
And I think it's that maybe is more important to him than the money and the greatness, the winning, maybe.
Right.
I don't know, but it's just kind of odd. Some of the actions that he's had over the last couple of years, when he could have clearly done some other things that would have helped the situation in Green Bay instead of just pointing fingers recklessly at coaches or at players. Not a good look.
All right, well, good luck to the Jets. That's I think I said last week, the night that the Jets beat the Rams, I remember my boys coming in and going, Dad, the Jets are about to beat the Rams. I went, no, hold on. After the Raiders thing right before it, right? Call me when the clock says 00:00. And the first thought when it was, what are they doing? So they get the second best quarterback, or who they thought was the second best quarterback, and now they're playing around with Aaron Rodgers and tens of millions of dollars in salary. I mean, catbird seed right here, Duval County, right? Jacksonville, Florida. Have your quarterback, have your coach.
From one game.
One game.
One game.
One game they shouldn't have won.
Change the fortunes of two franchises.
And don't you know that the Jets front office, not the coaching staff, but the Jets front office on that flight home had to have their head in their hands going, oh my God, what did we just cost ourselves? What did we just do?
Well, now what you had is the front office, I think there was 12 people supposedly that went to visit.
Aaron Rodgers in California?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Back to California where things didn't go well. Speaking of the Jaguars, let's start there. D'Ernest Johnson, the running back from South Florida who played in Cleveland as the third back last year, was just in here signing his contract. They were taking pictures. It'll all be up on social media soon. The Jaguars are playing in, this is not meant to be an insult. They're playing in bargain free agency now. Right.
Yeah, which is what we talked about last week.
Right.
About, hey, look, there are some guys that you're going to be able to get that are in that mid to lower tier, and that's where you're going to be a player. That's where we talked about things that might make a difference, the coach, the culture, the facilities, et cetera.
Right. But he's a guy who's done some things. He had 146 yards rushing in a game last year for the Browns. He seems to be a guy who can give them, beyond just being that third back, that change of pace back, seems like he's a good, solid special teams guy as well.
Well, and that's what that third back is.
Got to be.
I mean, third back first. And here's the question: would he be the number 2 back, or would he be the number 3 back? I mean, I think there's legitimate competition. Really, always there is legitimate competition between a third and a second back about who's going to be the next man up behind ETN.
Right.
So I think that's but special teams has got to be a big part of that, especially when you've got limited guys on your offense that at other positions, tight end, wide receiver, that are great special teams players.
Right.
You're not getting that. So that position has to be first and foremost a special teams player, or a really good back and a marginal special teams player.
So let's talk about the Jag salary cap. And by the way, we're going to talk about the Jaguars' positions, right? The positions of greatest need.
How many people have come up to you, because I've had this question so many different times.
Okay.
It's like everywhere I go.
Right.
Jeff, what are we doing? Are we not going to sign anybody?
I get that a lot.
Are we not going to help sign and get better? We've just lost people. We've gotten worse. We haven't gotten better.
All right, so 2 things. One, the opening of free agency has become a holiday in Duval County over the last couple of years. Last year, the Jaguars set a record, $175 million, the most ever spent by one team on one free agent class.
Yeah, but how much was the amount of contracts? The contracts, though, I think were bigger than that.
I thought it was 175 guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, guaranteed money.
But I think the total contract value was like $323 million or something like that. It
most ever on one class. And the year before they went out and made a big splash. Shaq Griffin and Rayshon Jenkins and Roy Robertson Harris. People have been spoiled by this. They've gotten used to this being a really big day.
When the Jaguars get better.
Right. When you have the quarterback and the salary cap room. I mean, let's be honest. The Jaguars spent their money last year. There's nothing to spend. There's no room. They're renegotiating contracts. Let's just lay this out, okay?
Who just got redone?
All right, so Foley Fatukasi.
Okay.
They just here. How do you do this and make it simple for people? You take what's called paragraph 5, which former
That's your annual salaries.
baseline your salary,
Yes.
right?
So then the only way that you can really gain an advantage in cap space is that you're converting what is going to be your salary for this year
Right.
into a signing bonus, which that can then be spread out through the remainder of the years of the deal.
100%. And so you have to have a high paragraph 5.
To give people an idea, just real quick.
Yeah.
Let's say Fatukasi had, and we're going to do this for simple terms,
Right.
that he had $5 million salary.
Okay.
And he had 5 years remaining left on the deal. So let's say you cut, or $6 million in salary. So you cut his salary by $5 million. So what you're doing is spreading the $5 million over the course of 5 years. So you're dropping the cap hit this year
To 1.
buying from 6
Right.
down to 1, actually 2, if you're going to amortize the signing bonus throughout the remainder of the 5 years. This year being one of them.
Right.
But that's a significant drop. So you're basically using cash money up front now to open up room now, but at some point you got to pay for it later on.
It's like our old friend Vic Ketchman used to say. It's like a credit card. You're just pushing it out, right? You're pushing the money out. So if you put too much in next year, it limits next year. Or if you put too much in the year after, it limits the year after.
And one thing that you have to be careful of, the only thing that you've got to be cognizant of
Right.
about how far you push that money out, when's the next big payday for your quarterback? You cannot screw that year up from a salary cap standpoint.
That could be as soon as next season because your guy is eligible after his 3rd year. So it could be next year or it could be the year after. Then they have the 5th year option. I mean, they've got time to
and
be
you don't
able
want to
do
get
it.
to a 5th year option.
No.
And next year, probably a year early because you've got some issues now. So 2 years from now, you got to make sure
Spring of 2025.
that you don't have yourself in a position that's going to affect your ability
Right.
to get Trevor Lawrence signed to a long-term deal.
So there are a couple of guys left with a big paragraph 5. Not a lot. They redid Christian Kirk and Zay Jones and a lot of
They've already redone
They've
that.
redone them. There's just a few left. So let me give them to you. And I use SpotTrack, by the way, which is one of 2 or 3 services. Over the Cap's another one. It might not be down to the penny exact, but it's pretty close, right? So Cam Robinson, according to SpotTrack, has $16 million in paragraph 5. And Darius Williams, the corner, has 11. And Rayshon Jenkins, the safety, has 7.5. So you do the math there. You're like, what, 34.5? Roughly $35 million
With those 3 guys.
in salary this next year. So there's a big chunk.
They call that paragraph 5 salary
Right.
for people that are wondering. That's the annual salaries.
Right. So there's a big chunk you could go and claw back, and you could move the money out and buy some space if there was something you had to have. And by the way, they redid Foley Fatukasi this week already. He was on my list here. And so they're at about 10.
What was his number?
8.5.
8.5 in paragraph 5.
In paragraph 5. Right. So there's a big chunk. And it's worth noting. You can only take these guys down to the veteran minimum. You can't take them down to $400,000, which is
Or
the
$1.
right, or $1. And the veteran minimum for these guys is roughly $1.5 million.
Yeah, and it depends on years of service.
Exactly.
To all
So you
part of that.
you can only do so much. There's a bunch of accounting tricks to get it done. And by the way, the accounting tricks caught this team. And you remember, we lived through that back in 2002.
It's one of the reasons why you had to say goodbye to Tony Baselli.
100%. It's one of the reasons why I kind of go, don't get crazy here and do too much. I wonder if Cam and Darius and Rayshon, I mean, do you really, those are guys, Cam, they've made a big investment in. Darius is a 2-year deal. I think Rayshon's got another year on his deal. How? In other words, if you push the money out, you got to add years to the contract, right? Because you start to get into some interesting cap economics. A couple other guys to consider. They could always do a deal with Evan Ingram, and I'm sure they're working on that, right? Mm-hmm. They said when they applied the franchise tag that this is something they have time until July 15th to be able to get a deal. That would provide you with some room.
And then at that point, the window's closed.
Right. Then he gets to play for that number the rest of the year.
Then you can't negotiate a long-term deal, which I've never understood that.
Well, you tell me, you were on the players.
Yeah, I know. I don't really understand. I mean,
I think it's just a deadline. They're trying to make it so. What they're really trying to do is to set yourself up. So if you had, let's say they had done this with Juwan Taylor, and he had an $18 million salary cap figure, team wouldn't want to get too close to the season with that. No. Right? So it's that deadline where you got to get crunching on the numbers.
For a lot of people that are wondering, why didn't the Jaguars keep Juwan Taylor?
$18 million franchise number.
Yeah, we're talking about trying. I mean, and he ended up getting an average of
20. Yeah, 20.
You can't make that number work under your current cap situation.
So I guess the interesting point, and somebody might be asking that, is say, listen, right now, well, what do you need the cap room for now? I mean, there's no one really left to sign. There's not a guy that you're going to go and swing at, is there? You need about $10 million for your rookie class. And then you want a cushion. You know, guys get hurt. You want to sign someone during the season. You need a little bit of salary cap room to be able to play with.
Well, and you want to sign, guys like veteran guys that are available.
Somebody that you'd like to bring in at some point.
Yeah, maybe.
But they're not. Talking about a defensive lineman?
Yeah, some guy that, used to play here, defensive tackle that's available. You
haven't heard that from people when you're standing in line at Publix,
initials
have you?
are CC.
You haven't heard that at Publix, have you?
Yeah.
But so real quick, we set this all up and kind of give you the sense of where they are in the salary cap to tell you that they're bargain basement shopping right now. They're looking for guys. There have been reports, you've seen them, that they're looking in the defensive line area also. They haven't officially signed these guys, but they're playing there. So what does that tell you about what they think about the draft class? Because if I'm not mistaken, defensive line, defensive tackle is one of your hot spots in the draft.
To me,
you want to see them fortify that.
Well, to me, that's your number one need on your football team is a pass rushing defensive tackle. And you need
those guys out there.
Well, they've been found in the past. Yeah. You just need to find one. Your Arden Key, who is gone.
Wait, he's gone?
He's gone.
I'm being sarcastic.
I know
we might have something to say about that.
Yeah, we'll have that conversation in a minute. But he was arguably your best interior pass rusher.
Yeah, he's good,
and arguably your best outside pass rusher too.
Yeah,
you could
he's
make
smooth.
that argument. He was a good football player, but you need to find a way to get production and push on the inside. Fadakasi's never been that guy. Roy Robertson Harris, you'd like
was a
him
bit at the end of this last
You'd
year.
like for him to continue to get better. I mean, it's nothing against the rules that say an older player can't get better.
He had that sack against the Jets.
Yes.
And he had the one here against the Chargers.
Consistently, he's not a disruptive force as an interior pass rusher.
Right.
I think he's adequate at times, but Fadakasi's essentially a zero.
Right.
When I say a zero, that's not meant to be derogatory.
He just doesn't provide it.
He's a zero technique.
Right.
Which a zero is a nose tackle, which nose tackles typically are not pass rushers. I think that's what Fadakasi is, and he's a good one. Now, when he's on his game, he's really stout and he's really strong. But you've got to find somebody that can impact the passer from the inside, and you got to have some length. You got to have some size to be able to do that. You can't make a living doing that with guys that are of the stature of what Arden Key was.
Right.
6'5" or 6'6" and 250 pounds. It's just not consistent enough. So you've got to find a guy. Do you find that guy in the draft? Maybe. Do you find that in the veteran bargain market? Well, maybe. And here's the reality. You probably could use a little bit of both.
Right. And that brings us to the other answer to the question, how are we going to get better? And that is that your roster is young and can get better. Improvement, right?
Correct.
Guys like Trayvon Walker.
Got to get better.
Caleb Chase.
Devin Lloyd. Got to get better.
Right. Any of these guys that are here that are young players have the opportunity to make your roster better from within.
I think that, yes, that's the answer. You always would, and again, what we talked about last week, the lifeblood of any franchise is the draft. And you got to continue to draft and develop to be able to continue to be a winner or to be able to get to being a winner.
Right.
This football team has got to get improvement out of the players that they have right now. But here's the reality also. You're not going to get some improvement out of some players that you have because you don't have a lot of guys that you're going, oh, the arrow's pointing up on. Okay, for example, name me a young defensive tackle on this roster that you go, man, this guy's really going to be good.
I can't. I don't think they've got it.
You really don't have it.
They've got Devon Hamilton.
Good player.
Right.
Okay. Good, solid player.
He's a zero technique kind of guy. He's a two-gapper.
Him and Fadakasi I put in the same category.
Right.
Okay. very similar players. Now, do you have any other young developing players on the defensive side of the ball? Because that's the side of the ball that we look at as being the most needful. Do you have any young corners that you think, hey, look, this guy's going to be good?
Tyson.
I mean, Tyson, you feel like he is good.
Yeah.
Darius Williams,
no.
average.
Yeah, he is what he is.
Can you get one of these young guys? He had a 6th and a 7th round pick last year, 2 young players.
Yeah.
Did they show anything last year that made you excited?
Not
yet.
To be fair,
I think they still can get better. Right. I'm not trying to say that
Buster Brown,
that is a dead end road.
He got a couple of opportunities, but he wasn't ready for it. He's 190 pounds.
So you need to
Gregory
have
from Gregory Jr. from Wichita Baptist.
Washita. I think is how you say that. Yeah. Isn't that right, Joe?
Set ourselves up for that one.
Joe doesn't know. He's wearing a yellow shirt today.
He didn't get a lot of time.
Washita? Washita?
You're right.
Wachita.
Okay. I think Washita sounds better.
It's
kind of close to a curse word.
Tomato, potato. You get my point. No, look. Where you're headed is what are the areas of greatest need? Mm-hmm. Not just for guys who could come in and be impactful tomorrow, because we know that in the draft that takes time, but overall on the roster. So let's do this. Let's take a break. Mm-hmm. Let's come back, and I want to quiz you on the areas where you think this team needs to address quickly in the draft. And
I'm ready.
Then again, this veteran free agent. All right, this is Jaguars Happy Hour. Brian with Jeff this evening. Joe alongside, making little quirks in his nice yellow shirt. Gray's the color of the day, buddy. We'll take a break and come back right after this on 1010XL and the Jaguars Digital Network. Jaguars fans, here's a great way to pay with pride wherever you go. Exclusively from TIAA Bank, the Jacksonville Jaguars Visa debit card comes with a fierce look and fantastic features, along with the convenience to make purchases online or at millions of locations worldwide. And it's yours, free, when you open a Yield Pledge checking account. Order yours today. Visit TIAABank.com/JagsCard. TIAA Bank is a division of TIAA, FSB, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
Ready to go nuts? Fresh, hot, salty, boiled peanuts. The roadside stand flavor that made the South famous is now available at all Jaguars home games. Luray Peanut Company puts a little South in your mouth with the briny perfection of their original recipe or peppery kick of their authentic Cajun recipe. Packed with protein and superfood nutrition, they're the MVP of snacks. Get them at the game or from your grocer's freezer and enjoy them at home. Go Jags, go Luray, go nuts.
It's here, Ford Truck Month. Come and get the best deals of the year on the only trucks built Ford tough. Drive home the rugged Ford F-150, part of Ford F-Series, America's best-selling truck 46 years straight and counting. But hurry in because these deals won't last forever. It's Ford Truck Month. Don't miss it. Come and get it at your local Ford dealer. Based on 1977 to 2022 calendar year total sales.
Hey Jags fans, Brian Sexton for Dreamfinders Homes. In a complex housing market, do decisions on the biggest purchase of your life stress you out? At Dreamfinders Homes, they can build the home of your dreams in one of their many communities in Northeast Florida. With a mortgage company in-house, they're here to assist you throughout the entire process. Choose from their wide range of single-family homes or townhomes from the 300,000s. Dreamfinders Homes specializes in homes built to fit your lifestyle. Call 904-590-2545 or visit dreamfindershomes.com.
I'm Dr. Hughes, cardiovascular surgeon. The Florida Lottery has contributed billions of dollars to education, putting kids like me on the path to success.
And they've awarded countless Bright Future scholarships, helping me pursue higher education.
So I can do more than just dream of a brighter future.
I can create one.
The Florida Lottery is proud to help fund the futures of students all across our state. Learn more at flalottery.com/education.
When Jaguars news breaks, you'll hear about it first on 1010XL, home of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
With Jacksonville, it was a shock to me. I ain't gonna lie. After the year, I thought I was gonna be a Jacksonville Jaguar. But I felt disrespected because I came over there, built up the coaching, brought a whole lot of energy, changed the city, changed the town, and I felt like I was in my rightful mind. I was gonna be a Jacksonville Jaguar, but that didn't happen.
I don't know how he got disrespected out of that. I really don't. I mean, he was a fan favorite, and he did bring a lot of energy, and he was great in the locker room. But disrespected? How about the Titans had more money to give you, pal? The Jaguars, as we just spent the last segment outlining, just didn't have the options to be able to pay Arden Key when they're thinking about, well, how do I get Trevor Lawrence done next year? And a number of young guys that are coming up soon. Disrespected.
Rule of thumb number one. When you go to a new place, you don't tell the new place you really wanted to go back to the old place.
I thought the same thing.
That's rule
Especially
number one.
Tennessee and the Jaguars.
Okay, rule number two, it's a business.
Yeah.
Okay, the Jaguars have economics issues. It's not about respect or disrespect. Number three is you didn't change the culture. Maybe you were a part of it. I'll give you credit for that.
Did he change the city, though? I thought I heard him say he changed the city.
Changed the city, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, for a guy who was a third-round pick of the Raiders who's on his fourth team.
Love the guy.
He does a lot.
And by the way, for those that were watching on our social media channels, he looked fantastic. He was sharply dressed.
He's a good guy.
And he's fun to be around.
But the minute I heard the disrespect, I went, really?
Yeah, first of all.
Do we have to go to that card?
But again, rule number one, don't tell the place that you just went to.
You'd rather be there.
That you would rather have stayed at where you were at.
But if
you
you're
thought
him,
it was going to happen.
Now you're chasing. I mean, now you're chasing the quarterback who carried this franchise through those last couple of weeks.
Well, he didn't carry the franchise. Arden changed.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Arden changed the quarterback.
Yeah.
He should have slipped that in there, too.
Ryan Tannehill,
I changed
Trevor Lawrence.
the quarterback. I changed the culture. I changed the city.
I wonder why they let him go. Who knows?
No,
all
it's
right.
great, though. It's,
Yeah,
it's all good. I love Arden. But Arden might need a little media coaching there.
A lot of media coaching.
Yeah.
4.5 sacks doesn't tell the whole story of what he did last year.
Good player.
He's a really good player.
Good player and a good guy.
The disrespect card. Please don't play that one. It's the one everyone plays. All right. Jaguars Happy Hour on a Thursday afternoon. Brian and Jeff Lageman. We talked through the salary cap and why the Jaguars are playing at the again, it sounds like disrespectful to Ernest Johnson and these other guys they're talking to, but you're playing in the bargain zone.
Well,
right?
those when you say bargain zone, there's nothing wrong with that because there's plenty of guys that have played in the bargain zone and then next year they end up hitting free agency again and have a chance at making a much more significant contract. And there's nothing wrong with that.
It's not big money.
No,
but you're finding guys that come in and sign a 1 or 2 year deal to play a role.
Well, a lot of people will say that there's the haves and the have-nots in the National Football League, and that there's no middle class. I don't agree with that. I think there still is a middle class in the National Football League, but there are more guys that there are more bigger numbers at the top, and it's not. Put it this way: it's not a flat curve where you have an equal number of everybody at all different salary levels.
Right.
There are smaller guys with big numbers, and then there's more guys with smaller numbers. But there's some guys that are in that middle class that make good money, and there's a significant number of them too.
All right, so let's look at needs, right? Free agency by design was going to be quiet, and it was going to be a guy here and a guy there. They got the running back today. There's talk about a couple of defensive tackles. Jaguars have nothing official, so we don't have anything official for you on that. You had defensive tackle, but, who can rush the passer?
Yes.
So not Devon Hamilton, not Foley Fatukasi.
No, you're good there. You don't need a 0 technique. You don't need a 1 technique. You need a 3 technique, somebody that can rush the passer.
Now, I get that.
On first and second down?
Okay.
And then also on third down.
Because on third down, Trayvon Walker can slide inside, right?
Maybe.
Right?
Has he shown that he can be a dominant inside pass rusher?
No.
He hasn't yet.
Not yet.
He hasn't shown that he can be a dominant pass rusher. He's got a lot to prove this year.
this is not a defensive tackle heavy draft.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at number 2 on your list. Cornerback.
Correct.
We talk about Tyson Campbell.
It's a 3 cornerback league now.
It is.
I mean, and it's weird that
play nickel 65% of the time.
65% of the time, and the league is slanting even more heavily than that, it seems like, over the last year and a half, 2 years. So I would say that it might even be pushing 70%.
It's a good draft at the top of the draft for cornerbacks. However, there might be a run before the Jaguars at 24, and you might not see the Joey Porters, right, who fit somewhere in the middle on the board, let alone like Christian Gonzalez, the kid from Oregon, who has a Jalen Ramsey kind of frame, tall and long. That guy's going to be gone in the top 10.
Right, but look, Brian, if you go back and you look at the history of the draft, are there not guys that end up being great players?
Yeah, that you don't find in the first
later
round.
in the first round and then also in the second round? You just got to find the right guy, and that's not easy to do. I mean, the farther back that you get in the draft, the more difficult it becomes. The percentages drop that player is going to be. I mean, that's just history shows that.
We use Gregory Jr. from Wichita Baptist
It's
as
a
the
percentages
example.
game.
Right.
Okay, so but that, to me, that's the number 2. Number 1, you need a pass-rushing defensive tackle.
Okay.
Number 2, you need another corner. Shaq Griffin's gone.
Right.
Okay, he's gone. You were hoping this past year that you would have had 3, with Darius Williams being that third guy. Well, is he the second guy now, or is he still a third guy? I don't know.
Well, so they talked. Doug Peterson, and I know for a fact that Mike Caldwell talked about how much better Williams played when they moved him outside.
Yeah, he played better.
So
but was it great? I mean, my answer to that is no.
Okay.
So and I'm not saying that he played poorly.
Right.
I just think that if you're satisfied with that being where you want to be, then you're not where you need to be.
Well, I'm just wondering, can you find somebody who can play outside and inside? Right? I mean, if you need
you take
3
whatever
corners,
you can find.
Okay. So whatever
you
on the
take
board
the
there.
best corner that you can find, whether that's an inside guy for nickel or if it's an outside guy, and then you make it work.
How do you feel about a safety who can play nickel?
Well, that's great.
Brian Branch is the kid from Alabama who
would love it.
Everything I hear is he can step down inside.
Very few
and play the
guys
slot.
can do that.
Well, that's true. But
we saw it last year in Baltimore with their rookie safety from, was it Notre Dame?
Yes.
What was his name? And I should have just.
I
But anyway, he played safety.
Tall kid.
Yeah, big, tall,
6'4".
lean kid.
Yep.
Many people thought he was the highest-rated player in the draft overall.
At some point, he was a top 10.
Ended up
pick.
falling down a little bit, but he played safety, and then he actually was, when they went to their nickel package,
he stepped
most of the time he went in and played the slot position, which is very rare for a guy that has length, that is a safety, to be able to move into that position.
Well, and that's the kid from Alabama, Branch, which is
Okay.
why
He can do the same thing.
Probably won't be there when they're sitting there at 24.
Maybe
and the only
not.
reason I ask is, 24 is such a different position for this team than they've been in recent years. And so I think you're going to be at a position there where there's going to be a defensive back, a defensive tackle, a tight end.
There's probably, when you look at the draft, okay, the Jaguars have been amongst the top for many years.
A long time.
Okay, there probably were about 8-9 guys that the Jaguars could have been picking at Leonard Fournette's position. Okay, last year there was about 4 guys that were being talked about for the first overall pick. When Trevor's draft class, there was no question who the pick was going to be. But when you get down into the latter part of the first round, I think that there are probably 10 to 12 guys that could be candidates. I'm talking about legitimate candidates for the Jaguars to pick at that position, because at the top of the draft, you have kind of an elite number. And that can be from 7 to 8 to 12 guys that are considered elite players. And then the draft changes a little bit. Now you start to get into, there's a larger number of guys that have very similar grades. And so the number of players that the Jaguars could be considering at that position or that draft slot, I think is much larger than it would have been at the top 8 of the draft. So it'll be interesting to see where they pick, or not necessarily where they pick, but who they pick, because there are multiple positions that they have to consider and should consider.
Can I give you a thought on one of those positions? And it is not defense. the Chiefs averaged just under 30 points a game last year. The Jaguars, just under 24. You got to make up a touchdown. And there's a part of me, and I know Doug Peterson's history. I talked with him a little this week. He's a guy who he wants to outscore you. If there's a tight end sitting there, not a Chris Manhertz type, if there's a Michael Mayer who is an all-around tight end, he's not Darnell Washington, the kid from Georgia.
That can catch and block.
Well, it's probably the most pro-ready guy.
Sure.
Would you do that?
Sure.
Could you find enough value at the tight end position, knowing that offensive tackle, defensive tackle, and corner are premium positions?
It's one of the reasons why that when you have the opportunity in free agency to plug your holes, you do that, so that you can go into the draft saying, hey, look, we just want to take the best player for us, which you don't want to go in there saying, you know what, we don't have a pass rushing defensive tackle. You know what, we don't have a third corner. You go ahead and you fill those holes in free agency, whether it's guys on 1-year deals or a 2-year deal for a bargain type player, or a veteran player that's just looking for a little bit bigger payday, and the second year's probably going to go away. And then you can go into the draft seeking exactly the best player that you can find for your situation. Yeah, absolutely.
If I'm sitting there at 24,
but Brian, I want to find some of those guys that we talked about,
right?
Because I had pass rushing defensive tackle at number 1 for this team's need.
You had corner number 2.
Corner number 2.
You had blocking tight end number 3.
Blocking tight end number 3, or I'll take any kind of a talented tight end.
Right.
Okay.
You had any type of pass rusher
at 4.
Right.
Which means that this team needs 2 inside rushers, or look, if you can get a talented guy on the outside,
right?
Because that's kind of what Arden Key was for you too. And then you've got Smoot, who's going to be coming back from a pretty significant injury. You need some depth there. And then number 5 is that Walker Little was an excellent swing tackle last year.
You don't have a swing tackle now.
Now you don't have a swing tackle.
Let me ask you a question. Would you be at 24 if one of the tackles slides? And there's some good tackles in this draft. I think the kid from Tennessee, Darnell Watt, is a guy who kind of fits in that 19 to 25 kind of range. Would you take a young offensive tackle?
I would. Again, if I'm filling my
he's
holes.
He's the best player available.
If I'm filling my holes with free agency.
Knowing that he's probably not going to get on the field this year and help you this year.
Well, why couldn't I put him at guard?
I guess you could.
I'm not talking about.
I don't know whether this kid can play guard.
I'm not talking about replacing, a veteran. Okay, the guy that you paid in free agency last year. Yeah. Okay, because Sheriff's a good football player.
Right. And he wasn't even healthy last year.
I'm talking about at the other side.
Ben Bart's spot on the other side.
Which Shatley played very well.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, and I want to keep Shatley because I think he's an excellent backup, and I think Ben Bart's could use some competition.
Well, here's one for you. The word was if they had been able to keep Jawan Taylor, that Walker Little could have played inside at guard. Could you make Walker a guard if you take an offensive tackle?
I haven't seen that.
Okay.
I would love to say, that
I know your perspective.
I thought his skill set is tackle.
Okay.
But then again, I remember when Ogden played guard, I'm like, there's no way.
1996, Tony Jones was the left tackle.
And he did it really well.
Pretty good, too.
And he did it really well. So, but playing guard's a little different, and Ogden was just
Hall of Fame player.
He's a freak.
Yeah. Hall of Fame.
Freak.
6'9", and he could get down in his stance as a guard.
He's one of the few guys that I ever played against that when I was getting ready to pass rush him, I had absolutely no clue what I was going to try to use because I didn't feel confident anything would work.
Right, because he could reach around you.
He had
the longest
I got
arms.
pretty good sized hands.
Yeah.
But his hands were so big. And, Baselli's a big guy.
Yeah.
But when you saw Ogden
He's bigger.
stand next to Baselli, he was bigger.
Freakishly huge. And you remember, by the way, just to give people some old-timers, when the Jaguars signed Leon Searcy in 1996, they moved Brian DeMarco, who's a big guy, 6'7", 330. He couldn't bend. He couldn't play guard. He struggled at guard. Rich Tilsky took over midway through the season.
Couldn't play tackle either.
Yeah, well, okay. But Brian had no ability, and Jonathan's bigger than him, and Jonathan could play guard. So it's just an interesting conversation to see, because the next couple of weeks, The Jaguars board is pretty much set. They're doing the fine-tuning at this point, trying to figure out, what they need and where it can go. I think if they take an offensive tackle, people are going to go, what? Right?
Yeah, it's not sexy.
No.
That doesn't sell tickets.
No, it doesn't do a whole lot of that.
You got a pretty significant investment at quarterback, right?
Yeah, you got to keep him up, right?
Is it ever a bad thing
No.
to get a guy that's just going to help protect your quarterback when he's of the stature that you think he is?
Hey, what would be sexy here? Is a Michael Mayer or the Darnell Washington kid, the big 6'7", Mercedes Lewis kind of guy at Georgia. I just more weapons for this quarterback.
I'm with you.
We saw how the Colts did it for years. They spent money and time and draft picks on offense, and on defense they had 2 guys, so occasionally 3, but Robert Mathis and
Dwight Freeney.
Oh man, that was all it took. They were playing with the lead all the time.
Perfect combination because they were front running pass rushers,
and they had it perfect. It worked out perfect.
Yeah,
we'll see what they do. Hey, when we come back, I've spent some time this week working on some alumni stuff, and I spent a good bit of time with a couple of guys, and a conversation sparked, and I want to get your perspective on the conversation. And this is something folks will probably want to chime in on. So get ready for it, folks. The question is coming up next here on Jaguars Happy Hour on the Jaguars Digital Network. Hey, Jags fans, Brian Sexton for Dreamfinders Homes. In a complex housing market, do decisions on the biggest purchase of your life stress you out? At Dreamfinders Homes, they can build the home of your dreams in one of their many communities in Northeast Florida. With a mortgage company in-house, they're here to assist you throughout the entire process. Choose from their wide range of single-family homes or townhomes from the 300,000s. Dreamfinders Homes specializes in homes built to fit your lifestyle. Call 904-590-2545 or visit dreamfindershomes.com.
With the first pick in the 2022 draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Duck Duck Rooter, the best plumbing and septic company in Florida.
Congratulations, Duck Duck Rooter. So tell us, how does it feel to be picked number 1?
Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing and Septic Services is excited to announce we're a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When you need help tackling any type of plumbing or septic issue, call our team of first-round draft picks for the win. DuckDuckRooter.com. That's DuckDuckRooter.com.
Jaguars fans, here's a great way to pay with pride wherever you go. Exclusively from TIAA Bank, the Jacksonville Jaguars Visa debit card comes with a fierce look and fantastic features, along with the convenience to make purchases online or at millions of locations worldwide. And it's yours, free, when you open a Yield Pledge checking account. Order yours today. Visit TIAABank.com/JagsCard. TIAA Bank is a division of TIAA, FSB, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else. Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Travel Camp RV, official RV dealer of the Jacksonville Jaguars, invites you to come shop their huge selection of inventory for your dream RV. With locations across the Southeast, you're sure to find them close by. Get value pricing on the top RV brands in the country, paired with the guaranteed best financing options available. You can also shop their inventory at travelcamp.com. Travel Camp RV has helped more families make more great memories in an RV since 1982. They're excited to add you to the Travel Camp RV family today.
I'm Dr. Hughes, cardiovascular surgeon. The Florida Lottery has contributed billions of dollars to education, putting kids like me on the path to success.
And they've awarded countless Bright Future scholarships, helping me pursue higher education.
So I can do more than just dream of a brighter future.
I can create one.
The Florida Lottery is proud to help fund the futures of students all across our state. Learn more at flalottery.com/education.
Jacksonville Sports Talk for Jacksonville sports fans. 1010XL, home of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
All right, word is out that Calais Campbell, that you kind of subtly hinted at.
When I went CC?
was in the building today. I guess Demetrius Harvey from the Times Union has tweeted it, so no sense in hiding it. Yeah, that would be fun, right?
It'd be awesome.
What could he do?
Rush the passer from the defensive tackle spot.
Oh, he would let you cross.
Hey, like number one need? Yes. Number one need? Yeah. There's a perfect example of a guy that I think he's still got a place here.
Yeah.
It is at the point in his career where he wants to win. Okay, this team.
He had his best professional season here in 2017.
No doubt. He's still productive.
Yep.
He still has a lot of respect in this locker room. I think he's got great respect in the community. I think he's at the point in his career that money matters, but it's not everything.
Right.
And this team is in a situation where money's not everything for right now, what they can spend.
And if you're Calais, I mean, Atlanta's a great city to live in, right? But their quarterback is Desmond Ridder. If you had the chance to come back here, and by the way, open a brand new practice facility, right? So world-class facility with a quarterback at the very tail end of your career in a place, I could be wrong, but my guess is a lot of people who are listening to this right now would put Calais in the pride of the Jaguars at some point in time for that season that he was a part of.
Beautiful. I mean, it was one of the most amazing seasons. And, when we talk, me and a lot of guys that have played the game for this football team have had a conversation about the great Jaguars, and we put him on that list.
There. Yeah.
I mean, he had tremendous production for this football team.
Well, this helps me translate to the alumni conversation because I've been working on the next edition of the alumni newsletter. A lot of your former teammates, guys that I know that you are very fond of. And I spent some time yesterday. But first of all, I spent some time today with Big Rich Collier. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to write this story. The biggest smile, the happiest person, the best perspective. Rich Collier, it was 15 years ago that he was shot 14 times.
Crazy.
It is absolutely crazy. He loves his teammates. His teammates love him. It's a great story. Might have to find a way to write that for the website too.
It's one of the greatest personalities that's ever been here.
Unbelievable. And we sat and told stories. In fact, I had to go. I have to go. And he was telling most of them, not me. But I spent some time with James Stewart yesterday. And since the Jaguars signed Ernest Johnson, a running back, James and I were just talking about the long list of running backs, the running back culture that they have here, right? And it starts with James, first-round pick.
Let me just say this real quick.
Yeah.
It would have been a lot better.
Are you going to tell the story about the sleeve on the arm?
No, okay. I will. But it would have been a lot better if we were talking about the great quarterback culture that we have had here.
Yeah, okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about running backs.
But there's been some great running backs here, and it all started with Natron.
With Stewart and Natron, right? Yeah. And they were a 1-2 combo.
And I think Nate allowed Stu to kind of gain his footing a little bit.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of pressure, I think, early on with James. He's a first-round pick. He's got to produce. In the first year, he did a good job.
Yeah.
But then getting Nate, I think, really helped. Because I believe this league, you got to have two backs. And having two backs took some pressure off of Stu. And Stu's a super guy.
Yeah. 33 touchdowns.
Which is amazing.
Career, which, by the way, was his jersey number. He's a good dude.
Very true.
Good dude. By the way, he is one of those guys who looks like he could still play.
No doubt.
He's got a personal training business out on Mayport Road.
He is by far the greatest old guy that played the game for the Jaguars. As far as when you look at him, he's amazing.
And he tells me all the time. He goes, "I'm an old school guy. It's why I got along with Coughlin." He was great. It's another story I'm really looking forward to write. So Stu and Nate, and then here comes Fred. And I don't think any of us have to sing the praises or describe the virtues of Fred. You saw it right away. I remember talking to you in the locker room. I remember where your locker was and saying, "Tell me about 28." And you're like, "What do I need to tell you? Can't you see it for yourself?"
Yeah, the one thing I remember about Fred was the speed was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
But he got dinged up a little bit this first year and was in the training room, was kind of having a hard time adjusting and was having a pretty emotional moment, was thinking that he may get cut. And I went up to Fred and had a conversation with him and it's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he told me and he said, "Man, I don't know if I'm going to get cut." And I said, whoa. I said, "Fred,
hit the brakes, buddy.
First of all, you're a first-round pick, and you're not getting cut." Okay. But, I mean, that's the kind of the fear that Coughlin kind of was instilling.
Oh, you're saying Tom was instilling? Shocking that he would
but no,
let you not feel secure.
Fred was,
I told my boys.
Performance is self-explanatory.
I have a 17 and an 18-year-old in the house right now. And I told them today we were going to have this conversation tonight. So they're probably listening. And I remember saying if Fred was 23 and a second-year player today, he'd be the best running back in football.
Yeah.
No, Saquon, Dad. Saquon. I went, stop. Saquon's great. Fred Taylor is in an entirely different atmosphere than Saquon. How can you say that? Because I watched him.
The only thing that Fred, I think, that hampered his career, when I say hampered, would have helped him if he scored more touchdowns.
Yeah.
But a lot of times when they got into that area, they took him out.
Right. They gave the ball to Stewart. Stewart had 13 touchdowns in 99.
Yeah, which is why he had 33 touchdowns, because he was the guy that was used in that situation.
Right.
For some reason, Fred was taken out. The game-breaking speed and the open field running ability that Fred had would just light this game on fire the way it is right now.
If you're listening, I told you. He would be the best. Okay, move on before anyone can counter me on that one.
After that, Mojo, and then you had the tandem.
Yeah.
So it was
in
unique.
2007,
this team has always been at its best when it's had its tandems.
154.6 yards per game, which allowed David Garrard to step into the starting job that year, if you recall, and just do what he could do.
Which that's a conversation and a story in and of itself.
A whole nother story.
How that came about.
But David played great that year.
Yeah.
And he could because he could lean on the running game, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And then after MJD steps away, you have a lull at the running back position, and then all of a sudden they spend a 4th overall pick on Leonard Fournette. And Fournette was...
The one guy, let me go back a little bit, because if you go back to the early Jaguar years, the one guy that I thought was really going to add to the backfield that never had an opportunity, that had a significant knee injury, do you remember the name?
Stacey Mack?
Nope.
Oh, you're talking about the kid from Southern.
Nope. He had blonde hair.
Oh, you just told it.
Tavian
Banks. Yes.
Tavian Banks.
I talked to him not long ago.
Did
Again,
you?
in the alumni capacity. He is a very successful YMCA regional director in his hometown of Sioux City, Iowa.
Awesome.
He is running youth programs. He was interested in a job here in Jacksonville with the Jaguars, but it was below his ability level, right? He was way too overqualified for it. Tavian Banks is a tremendous success story away from football.
Great guy.
Can't wait to tell that one too.
And I always thought that he was going to be that X factor back for this football team. And then
Remember
it was
the touchdown against the Giants here in the preseason where he reverse field and leapt over a defensive tackle.
And it was a preseason game. And the guy hit him out of bounds.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about when he got hurt. That was Ray.
Yes.
No, that was in Atlanta. The end of the regular season.
Yes.
It was the corner. Ray
McLeod. No.
Not Bentley.
But it was out of bounds.
It was out of bounds, but it was in December. It was a regular season game.
And I was like, what are you doing?
I know. Why was he in the game?
It was like 2 yards, meaningless point of game.
Yeah.
But it was about 1.5 yards, 2 yards out of bounds that this hit occurred
Took place.
And it was like, oh my God, just ruined a guy's career.
Right. The only time I've ever flown home on that
I don't
team
even think it was flagged.
I don't recall if it was.
It should have been.
I remember hearing Tavian Banks moan the whole way home from Atlanta. It was a short flight.
Tragic.
But you could hear it. And then, and I told Tavian this when I talked to him. I never saw you again.
No.
Never saw you again. And we got to wrap up this
Great
week.
guy.
Great guy. One more, and that's ETN, where they are right now. I mean, this franchise has a nice history of really talented running backs. And we'll take a break and come back and wrap this show up right after this. Jaguars fans, here's a great way to pay with pride wherever you go. Exclusively from TIAA Bank, the Jacksonville Jaguars Visa debit card comes with a fierce look and fantastic features, along with the convenience to make purchases online or at millions of locations worldwide. And it's yours, free, when you open a Yield Pledge checking account. Order yours today. Visit TIAABank.com/JagsCard. TIAA Bank is a division of TIAA, FSB, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It's here, Ford Truck Month. Come and get the best deals of the year on the only trucks built Ford tough. Drive home the rugged Ford F-150, part of Ford F-Series, America's best-selling truck 46 years straight and counting. But hurry in because these deals won't last forever. It's Ford Truck Month. Don't miss it. Come and get it at your local Ford dealer. Based on 1977 to 2022 calendar year total sales.
At most sandwich places, asking for more of something is just part of the drill. But what if you never had to ask for more? What if more was just a given? At Daly's, more is what our sandwiches are built on. More meat, more cheese, more veggies, more quality, more taste. All for a price that's anything but more. Sandwiches from Dash, made fresh. Daly's.
As the official dentist of the Jacksonville Jaguars, ASAP Dental is a champion of the dental game. Let them win you over with full-service dental care and the same-day smile you deserve. Open 7 days a week, ASAP Dental has 8 locations to serve you in the Northeast Florida area. So come see them today. With their exceptional experience and care, you're always treated as the MVP. Visit asapdentalcare.com or call 904-500-2727 to book your appointment today.
Reconnect with the best version of you at Amara Med Spa, Northeast Florida's premier luxury medical spa, located in Ponte Vedra, Town Center, Avondale, St. Augustine, and Fernandina. With the most advanced injectors, estheticians, and technology, Amara Med Spa is redefining beauty, offering services such as Botox and filler, M-Sculpt Neo, painless laser hair removal, and advanced skincare treatments. Visit theamaramedspa.com and book a complimentary consultation today.
I'm Dr. Hughes, cardiovascular surgeon. The Florida Lottery has contributed billions of dollars to education, putting kids like me on the path to success.
And they've awarded countless Bright Future scholarships, helping me pursue higher education.
So I can do more than just dream of a brighter future.
I can create one.
The Florida Lottery is proud to help fund the futures of students all across our state. Learn more at flalottery.com/education.
The station that the Jaguars listen to, 1010XL. Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
All right, back to wrap up this wandering edition of Jaguars This Week. I'm sorry, happy hour. It feels like the old days. Going down memory road, we could do that with a lot of positions, where there's been some talent here. But that running back thing just stands out. And James Stewart sparked it all. So, Stu, if you're listening, thanks. I appreciate that. Next couple weeks are really important for this franchise because if they're going to be draft and develop, it isn't just, and this is something Rich Collier told me today when we talked, he was an undrafted rookie when he came out of Valdosta, and you were the first one to point him out.
Great feet.
You pointed him out on the practice field. You're like, look at that big guy there. He can play. And I went, how can you tell? He's not even in pads.
Had great feet.
Look at his feet.
He could move his feet.
They found him, and Rich told me today that James Harris and Jack Del Rio told him 2 weeks before the draft, we're not drafting a tackle. If you're not drafted, we would like you to come back here and be one of our priority rookie free agent signings. And he said the reason that he did was because they were the only people that didn't blow smoke at him,
right,
who said, that's where I want to go.
What they said they were going to do or what was going to happen.
And they did it. So Trent Baalke and his staff, and they know this. This is not news. They have got to do an amazing job the next couple of years, not just with their draft picks, but with those guys like Richard Collier, where you go and mine guys that come in. They might not be stars, but they might come in and be really important role players.
Or you had a running back that was just here not long ago that ended up getting you a draft pick and a trade and was very productive in J-Rob.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
You have to find guys like that because the percentages are obviously higher with draft picks. But the reality is that you've got to win. You've got to try to beat some of those percentages. I don't know what the success rate is on first-round picks, but it keeps dropping in a significant way the farther down the draft you get, and it continues to drop drastically when you have undrafted.
Well, and the irony is we're going to talk so much
you got to hit some, though,
in the draft about the first-round pick, right, at number 24. But the second, third, fourth, fifth, those are incredibly important draft picks. You've got to hit on those guys because they replenish your cap.
You're supposed to draft starters in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Starter.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the 4th, you're supposed to draft a contributor. And then you try to hope to get something after that. So you need to hit where you can.
It's fun. If JP wants to take next Thursday off, I can sit in again. Yeah.
JP he's coming back right now.
He's listening right now. He's like, I'll be there next week, Sexton. You can take it off. For Jeff Lageman and Joe Fortunato, thanks so much.